I was not expecting to be doing another video, so this is something that I've been wanting to do for a while too, and you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and do it because it's important. Oh, I heard some news and this is not the first person I've heard this from. This won't even be the last. There'll be others. And the whole point of, the title of this is Where is God? Being sexually abused, having a pimp use you for money, whatever the story is, the specific story of the backgrounds with these individuals. And yes, it's traumatizing, it's painful. But the sexual stuff is honestly the worst because we are sexual beings and you can get stuck on the wrong method, having the wrong stuff burrow into your mind, and the next thing you know, you're trying to use that in a way to help relieve yourself of your own pain. And yet you're digging yourself a bigger hole, and you're digging it worse. In some cases, it turns out to the point where you abuse others sexually in the way that you yourself were abused, but you're going way above and beyond. I'm saying that with some cases that I've read about where people they make the news, and you hear the story and you look behind it, reading some of the reports and stuff, and they're like, they do this stuff because they're sexually traumatized and abused, and they're just passing it on. Like, there's things these 7-8-year-olds should not be knowing, yet they're doing it. This does not apply to my friends. I'm trying to keep things private, not go into details. I am not trying to betray anyone's trust, privacy, or anything like that. But this stuff is important because at the end of all of this, people are like, where is God in all of this? And they check out because, you know what? They're disgusted, they're upset, they're depressed. They don't see God moving, they don't see God acting, and they're just like, I'm struggling. And they're not seeing things move or happen, and they just say, I'm done, I'm sorry, bye. I'm gone. And it's awful. It's absolutely awful. The thing is, the abusers that ended up abusing you or someone you know, they went through that themselves, more likely than not. That's what happened to them. They're passing it on to someone else. But you know what? They may have picked up a couple other things along the way. The love of money. Because they want this, they want that, and they don't see people as people. They see them as disposable, as tools, as a means to, a method, a means to get what they want. God, and this is quoted in the scripture too, sorry, I'm paraphrasing, but it's in the Bible as far as God wanting to take the weak of this world to humble the wise, that he cares for all his children. And Jesus does talk about with the whole, it's better to hang a stone around your neck and drown than to harm a child. I'm paraphrasing that as well. I'm not pulling up scripture right now to read off any of that. There's other verses too that depict that, where our struggle is in some of these issues. And in the end, our struggle isn't against each other. It's against the shit that happens to each other. People do a lot of things because they got themselves into that mess, and it tends to spread. Sometimes it's going to be very spiritual, and I've heard plenty of stories, I've read and I've listened, and it is definitely an earful where these witches and warlocks, whoever else, they have demons, spirits in their family that is bound to them or their kids or whatever. They cannot be free while that demon is there. And I've heard enough of these stories that I just shake my head at this. They're stuck with this, not by their own choice, but it's tied to their story and who they are. God uses this in ways that is unbelievable. I think sometimes none of this happens by chance or it's random. It's set in a way to see how we respond. And then he goes ahead, plans out the release, plans everything out to a T so that we can be free. We have to make certain choices along the way. And in some cases, we condemn ourselves, or we allow freedom, we allow other things to free us. Sometimes it goes against our pride. Sometimes we cannot be humble. Sometimes we cannot let go of the sin that was in our life. And there's a lot that just simply says, like, well, there's a lot that gets between you accepting that God allowed this awful thing to happen. I'm saying this having talked to my mom as far as my uncle, who is getting ready to pass away, and his birthday is literally today. So it's pretty damn painful, because we don't know how much time he has left. He's getting weaker. His muscles are failing every month. Like, his muscles are, whatever the word is, degenerating. They're just getting worse. It's irreversible. He's never going to recover. He's never going to get better. His talk is very low. He doesn't have much time left. And I can't be there with him. I have to be at work. About the only time I can go is when he passes away and I can go to the funeral. Yeah, it sucks. There's a lot of pain there. I don't question why God allows this anymore, because I know more than I want to know about this. God uses everything. Now, he cares about everyone, but he also cares about his glory, his honor, and he wants to be the one who rescues. He wants to be the one who is the number one in your life, which also plays a part in us accepting this as well. I'm not a trained expert. I can't just simply point and pick apart every little thing without help, without books, without trained professionals dicing everything professionally. In some cases, that is needed for these particular topics. I am trying to hit that sweet middle spot between, what pastors and elders of the church would say, along with other people on the outside, like, I don't know, maybe the medical profession, the counselors, the therapists, when they start asking these questions. They start trying to answer these questions. Because you know what? When you are struggling, sometimes you just want these answers to be that simple. You want them to be, here's a question, here's an answer. You don't want to have to be told, like, well, there's a lot of stuff that goes into this. You don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. But there's no simple solution or answer to, where is God in all of this? He allows this stuff to happen for multiple reasons. And the cases where he doesn't allow it, we are usually rescued, or it never takes place to begin with, where God actually puts his foot down and says, no, you're not doing that. And I have a very strong, and this ties in with a video that I literally just did like an hour or two ago. I have a very strong belief that prayer changes so much. Because of what happened to me, it could have been a lot worse. It could have been very different, but my parents have prayed for me every single day. And I believe them when they say that. And it shows. Praying for others every single day is important. You do not know what your prayers go up against and prevent. Prayer prevents access into your life or the other person's life that just basically, without it, shit would be fucked up. Excuse the language. Without prayer, you're losing another line of defense, another means to protect yourself and those you love and care about. Having trust, having faith, having trust that there is a reason and a point to all of this, and that you may not be able to see or understand it now, but you will be in the future. I can testify to that because there's things that happened to me that I was just like, why is this happening to me? And then a decade later, I run into these people and I'm like, oh, thank you. Now it makes sense. I don't want to be where I'm at, but I see the value of why I'm here. And I've been able to do a lot of good despite my own failures and shortcomings and issues and problems and all that. Because you know what? I have a lack of boundaries. My heart's in the right place. And you know what? It's not all about me. I do not just say it's my way or the highway. There's more, but what I see, what I understand, I try to pass on to others as it was passed on to me because it matters. And on top of that, some of this stuff is not going to be passed on because it's too painful, it's too dangerous, or worse. It's not scriptural, it's not directly word for word in the Bible. I've had people say that to me before. I'm just like, there's a lot that is not covered directly in the Bible that you have to pull from to try to get answers from. You get the foundation settled, you can actually come across some of the answers and all of that without them even being in the Bible. Dating, relationships, there's a lot that's not covered in the Bible about that we are learning. And yes, it helps to have decent parents, elders, someone who we can go to and turn to that we trust, who will not lead us astray. And you can take their roadmap, their advice, their thoughts, and you could build off of that with your own. I want to say there's one more important reason why, the whole where is God in all of this? If God were to directly intervene and show up and prevent whatever happened from ever happening, there is a serious loss of opportunity there as far as God saying, I'm using this, trust me, and then having there to be a chance for a deeper relationship. Basically, there's a lot that would be lost in the process with God ever preventing anything from ever happening. The other side point is, preventing the bad things. You're not exactly living. You're just simply having a lot of luxury, a lot of safety, a lot of comfort, and no real challenges. Nothing that would force you and press you to see who you are, how you would respond under pressure. As it is, humans conflict with each other all the time, but the pain, the trauma, all of that, it has a different function rather than just simply, or maybe it's a lot more simple than that. I mean, we mess up and we have a lot of issues and conflicts, but I guess at the heart of it all, it's if that was just simply taken away, there's a lack of opportunity, a lack for God to come in and say, this is why this matters, and I will save you and bring glory to my own name. And here's the thing. If God did not exist, and if he wasn't that important, he wouldn't even try. He wouldn't be like, I matter, I'm going to do something about this to bring glory to myself. I think God is very wise in how he handles certain things. I think other things are simply consequences, and God will be like, you set this up, you're going to have to pay for it, and then I will step in and help with the healing and the redirection, the refocusing, all of that, the rebuilding, so to speak. This is hard. This is painful. And from my friend who was sexually abused at a young age, it kicked me down very hard, and I was just like, this is crushing. You never told me this before. Again, I'm not going to specifics. I'm not betraying trust. I'm not doing that here. I'm just like, this is not even the first time. This is not even the second time that I heard this. Maybe the 10th, maybe the 15th time, I don't know. But it's crippling every time I hear it. We are sexual beings. And having this shit happen to us rewires and fucks with us in ways we don't understand right then and there. Especially if you're 6, 8, 9, 5, whatever that young age is. Because this shit always happens when you're a minor. Yeah. And it's the young people, they get it the worst because they're young, they're inexperienced, they're not protected. Things happen when you're not protected and looked out for. And that's assuming that you survive and that's not a tragic accident. I mean, automobiles and all that, the nice thing about that is when they do happen, it's usually quick and painless. So from what I've heard anyway, like when kids are involved, it's usually quick and painless. Just a one and done deal. There's no suffering. There's no trauma. Obviously, that's not every case, but you know what I mean. Like, God cares. Things will happen. And we're going to remember that in this suffering, there is a point, a purpose, and a reason. But we're not going to be able to see it right then and there because we are still near and in our grief. We need time to process. We need time to put things together and pull ourselves back, because this basically rocks our world each and every time. Let me just pull back and say the whole Christian Taoist thing, that applies right here, because I need a lot to rebalance myself when I get rocked, and it is hard. I used to get stuck like it was no one's business in the past, in the trauma, the pain, the garbage, having your identity based on lies and the shit that people put out there is traumatizing, sure, but I didn't grow up crooked because I had three things: a loving and caring family, a solid foundation that my parents took time to install and put into me. Basically, as Hammerhand would say, morals, values, and ethics. I'm going to add beliefs to the end of that. Lastly, a support network, friends, family. Yes, that is incredibly important, because sometimes you're going to be alone away from family, or many times, and you're going to need to be helped or rescued, because you can't do everything on your own. You're not Superman. This is tiring. I'm tired. Anyway, made some beef stew. I'll show this because why not? I gotta add some more carrots. More carrots, more celery, but yeah, that's it. Oh, not too bad, huh? All right, until next time. Just wish you all the best, but this is... this topic isn't even close to being over. This is just a intro, so to speak, as far as this particular topic.